Standard 4. It's our last standard in Unit 4. So let's go over what the scale entails and what you need to know in order to successfully pass this standard. So our scale starts with a level 1, and that's what we're going to cover today. Level 1 just simply asks you to be able to identify what is the x-intercept and what is the y-intercept from a line that's already graphed. So level 2 asks you to actually graph something given an x and a y-intercept. Level 3 asks you to actually find the x and y-intercept if they give you the equation, and then you have to actually be able to graph it. Then level 4 takes our equations and our graphs one step further and asks you to be able to graph horizontal and vertical lines. Now notice what we've talked about this stair-step feature throughout most of our scales. In this particular scale, the only requirement is to get a level 4, you have to meet a level 3. And that simply means that just because you can graph a horizontal and vertical line does not mean that you are going to get a level 4. You have to be able to do the level 3 material. That's really our end game goal. The level 1 and the level 2 really are the easier stair steps to be able to get to a level 3. But if you are able to do a level 3 problem, then I can look at the level 4 information. So what is an x and a y-intercept? We're going to cover level 1 today. So an x-intercept and a y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the graph actually crosses the y-axis. Remember that is the vertical axis, goes up and down, and the point at which the line crosses that axis is the point that is the y-intercept. Now, we always write an x and a y-intercept as points. Okay, you need to write that down. X and y intercepts are always written as points. So you can see this pink line is pointing at this particular point right here. And I would not tell you that this is the y-intercept. It's at 1. This y-intercept is at the point 0, 1. Please remember, when you write points, you need to have a comma in between your x and y coordinate and parentheses on either end. It is not a point without those two things. So if a y-intercept is where a line crosses the y-axis, then an x-intercept would be where that graph crosses the x-axis. And we see that here happening at the point 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. So the x-intercept is at 4, 0. Okay, so let's practice finding the x and y-intercept from each of these graphs. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So here is our y-axis. So it crosses this particular point. So our y-intercept, you can use int for intercept, is at the point 0, 2. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. That's the horizontal axis right here. And that's at the point -1, -2, 0. Let's take a look at our next one. Y-intercept, here's our y-axis. So where it crosses is right here. And that is at the point -2, I know it's kind of hard to see on this particular graph, but that y is at -2. But you can't just say the y-intercept is -2. You need to write it as a point. So we have y-intercept is at 0, -2. Our x-intercept, right here, crosses the x-axis, is at the point -1, 0. At this point, you should be able to look at the 3 sets of intercepts that we have written and notice a pattern. That pattern is that all of the y-intercept has 0 in for the x-coordinate, and all of the x-intercepts have 0 in as the y-coordinate. That's going to be very important information once we get up to that level 3 and our ability to be able to find an x and y-intercept if they give us an actual equation. So tomorrow we're going to do just a little check-in just to make sure that we know how to find the x and y-intercept if we're given a graph.